Welcome back to the Ready Room Podcast. I am your host, Josh, and today we talk about lessons learned while running my own gunsmithing shop. Hope you enjoy. All right, everyone, welcome. This is an early morning recording. I'm trying this out to see if it gives me enough time in the day to get some of these podcast episodes out to you guys. So bear with me if my voice isn't all there yet, or if my brain isn't all there yet. It doesn't help that this is not a scripted episode. This is something I've wanted to do for a few weeks now, and just haven't really, put it down on paper. So bear with me a little bit. But first, guys, if you're listening on podcast sites, make sure you try and subscribe or leave a review if you want to help out the podcast. That is the best way to help the podcast out. If you're on YouTube, the few of you, hey, hit the subscribe, maybe notification bell, like, comment, all that fun stuff to please the YouTube overlords. If you check out the website, I've updated the website with a new drop-off location for gunsmithing. The Facebook is weird right now. I think we're getting shadow banned on Facebook. I don't know why. All I do is post the exact same stuff I post to Instagram, which is never selling anything. It's just, examples of work done. And I think, even though I believe Instagram and YouTube are owned by the same company now, I can't post anything to Facebook right now. So something's a little funky. I don't know what it is. But before we get into tough lessons learned, right, I want to start off with a little bit of positivity, because a few of you did actually leave some reviews, and a few of you emailed me with some feedback. And I just want to say I am very thankful, because the reviews, I think, were on Apple Music or Apple Podcasts. Sorry, I don't know what it's called anymore. It's impossible to keep track of. They were awesome. I really appreciate it, guys. They're really awesome reviews. And those of you who sent me emails, man, they were super cool. I'm really glad to know that some of you guys are learning something, right? I'm glad to know that someone's out there listening for the information and not for my stupid face. Obviously, that was never the case, but I think it's really cool, guys. I think it's really awesome that some of you guys are learning, and you reached out just to let me know, hey, I'm learning. Thank you. I appreciate it. Because I appreciate it. It gives me a reason to keep going. Make sure, as long as someone's getting something out of it, man, I'm here. So, lessons learned running my own gunsmithing shop, right? Some of these are going to be negative, okay? Some of these are going to be very negative, but it's okay. It's things that I wish someone had told me, or if they did tell me, I wish I had really listened to it. Because I didn't on at least one of these. But the first and the biggest one I want to tell you guys is, you do get to pick the jobs you take, okay? If there are some jobs, or if there is a job that makes you uncomfortable in any way, whether it's you get a bad feeling about the customer themselves, whether they're giving you all kinds of red flags and going to seem like an extremely difficult customer, or if it's a job that seems to be way out of your skill set and you don't want to risk trying it anyways. There's a couple of different options there, but first I want to cover the customer side of things. If a customer is making you feel like they're going to either be harassing you the entire time you're working on their gun, or that they're not going to want to pay what the job is worth, don't take the job. Just don't take it. It's not worth your headache. They're going to get mad at you. It doesn't matter. Because they're still going to get mad at you at the end of the job. Except now you'll be in your time and they're still mad at you. Right? A lot of people are scared of somebody walking around bad-mouthing them. And I was too. I was really worried about someone going around and saying that my gunsmithing was subpar. And I took a job in from a customer that I knew was going to be trouble. And I did what Mark Novak would call a conservation for pretty cheap. I mean, I did it for a very affordable price for this guy on his little .22 semi-automatic gun, which is another flag. I shouldn't have done it. It wasn't a restoration, but it was a conservation. I took all the rust off. I brought back the original bluing as best it could be brought back. I did refinish the stock. The stock was completely, it looked brand new. And I cleaned up the action. Unbent his magazine tube. I mean, there's a good bit of stuff I did. And when he picks it up, he's like, man, this thing looks fantastic. I was like, yeah, thanks, man. I'm glad you like it. He's like, but what are these little spots on the metal here? And I was like, well, that's where the rust used to be, and the rust has been removed, but there was so much of it that it got through your bluing, and you're down to bare metal there. And he's like, well, that wasn't there when I dropped it off. And I was like, yeah, it was. It's just underneath the blue, or it was underneath the rust. That's where the rust was, and now the rust is no longer there. And he flew off the handle. I was like, nah, man, you put acetone on this gun. And there was two issues with that. One, he started raising his voice and screaming, so I got heated immediately. The second thing is acetone doesn't really do anything to blued guns. You want to test that out, put a little blued barrel in a tub of acetone. Doesn't do anything to bluing, okay? So I got really mad, and we argued for quite a while. And I told him, look, man, were you looking for it to look brand new out of the box? And he said, yeah. And I was like, all right, well, then you want to pay for a bluing job, which is going to be even $200 more than what you paid or what you're paying, you know? And he was like, well, I ain't paying that. I'm like, all right, then. So this is where you're at. You can take the conservation or you can have a restoration. You wanted the stock refinished, the stock got refinished. You wanted the rust removed, the rust is removed. You know, I did exactly what you asked for at less than I should have, so just pay up and go. And he said, I'm just saying, man, you need to fix this. I said, no. Pay up. Never come back. So I kept his gun until he paid, and I told him to never come back. And the reason that worked for me was because that customer was always going to have found something to complain about. That gun could not have looked closer to new without a bluing job than it did. It was exactly what we talked about. We agreed on it, and he came in ready to find something to complain about so he could get a discount. He thought he was going to get some kind of discount. And it wasn't going to happen. Look, I already did it super cheap, you know? This is your money. You need to be taking in what it's worth. And for example, another mistake I made, not picking and choosing the jobs that come in. I have a really old single shot shotgun. I believe it's a Stevens. Yeah, I think it's a Stevens. That was in a house fire. And this is, at this point, was the third house fire gun I had gotten. I got really comfortable with it. I like doing house fire guns. It's really cool to see the before and after, right? So I took in this third house fire gun, and I explained to the guy that this thing is worse than most of the ones I've done already. The wood could not be saved on this one. A lot of times you can save the wood. This one was cooked all the way through. I mean, it was cooked. And I knew that I was going to need to replace all the springs inside. The trigger guard was melted. The front sight was melted. I mean, dude, this thing was bad. And I was actually really worried about the metallurgy here. But in fact, once I got in there, the springs needed to be replaced, and that was it. The barrel was in good enough shape to fire. It was ugly, you know, but so I told the guy, man, this is going to be way more expensive than this gun is worth. Even if I replace the wood and the springs and everything internally that needs to be replaced, you're still going to have very pitted and ugly metal, but it'll be better. You know, because he was saying, man, I'm on a fixed income. I'm old. I just want, this thing to run again. I want it to look a little better too. And I said, look, man, well, we have options, but the problem is you need to know this is going to be expensive. Just in parts, it's going to be expensive. He's like, I know, but I want it done. I said, okay, are you positive? You understand that I am telling you that you are going to spend way more than this gun is worth to fix it? And he said, yes. I said, okay, cool. That's all I needed to hear. So we went for another conservation, not a restoration. Restoration would have been, a lot of sanding on the metal and fixing up the receiver and barrel. They were cleaned up, de-rusted, but they were not polished, right? I had $273 in the parts in that gun. And let's just say I only charged him $200 labor because I was trying to be nice for this old man. It's my mistake yet again. All right. The labor should have been closer to $300. Easy. I probably had 15 to 20 hours in this gun, just trying to get everything right. Now that might be my fault. Maybe I'm slow with this particular Stevens shotgun, but a lot of fitting had to be done with the forend in stock that I had to buy as replacements. And if anyone knows, I forget which model it is, but it's got a mainspring that is unbelievably stiff. And it's really hard to get back in when you get a new reproduction model. So a lot of time in that gun. I drop it back off, call the guy and tell him, look, you're in this for $473 or whatever it was. And he said, all right, cool, I'll go pick it up this week. Well, guys, that was 4 months ago. I have called him 3 times since. He keeps saying he's going to pick the gun up, but he's not. The gun's still there. So not only am I out the labor that I put into it, I'm also out the $275 I put into parts out of my own pocket. So another rule I had to put in was, if we're getting more than $100 in parts, you're paying for the parts up front beforehand. Because I can't do this, man. I can't sit here and, pay money for somebody else's parts and then them refuse to pay. So they're going to at least pay for the parts. Then they got some skin in the game, It's really stupid. And there's some customers where I know I don't have to do that. But if you're like a brand new customer that I don't know, and you're like, hey, man, I want to do this full 1911 reconstruction. I want to have a new mainspring. I want to have a new beaver tail, new trigger, new sear and hammer, new blah, 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 blah. Okay, you're paying for all of that before you bring it to me. You're going to buy all the parts and then bring it to me. Rub me the wrong way, okay? So a lot of guys aren't like that, and hopefully I won't have to be that forever. But with brand new customers that just come out of the blue and want a really expensive project, nah, man. I'm not paying for the parts out of pocket. It's not happening. And this is something you can decide to do, decide not to do. It is up to you. But I'm just letting you know that you really should decide what you take in. Know a red flag when you see one. If they're talking about, if before they even drop it off, they're already talking about how they're really tight right now, and it's kind of gonna be hard to pay. Don't just tell them go find somebody else then, because they're already setting up the argument. They're setting up the conversation to say that they need a discount when you're done. Remember I told you I was broke? All that stuff, right? Sounds like me. I'm broke. That's because of these kind of customers. So that's something I'd recommend. Now, when it comes to the actual job itself, if it's something that you're not comfortable with, you need to weigh the options in your brain, okay? You can either decide to figure it out along the way, which I've done plenty of times. There's a couple jobs I've done where I had no idea what I was doing. I went out and found the information, and I just applied it the best I could, and it worked out. And sometimes it doesn't work out. It happens, guys. If you're doing well and you think you're willing to risk something to the point of you might have to buy this customer a new gun if you mess it up, decide that based on what the gun is. Is it super rare? Is it super expensive? And what the job is, right? If you think you can dive into your books or dive into some YouTube videos and you could figure this out, do it, okay? There's a couple first-time jobs that I did because of that. I was like, I really like this job. I would really like this, what this is going to pay, but I've never done it before. And I took it home just telling myself, look, if you decide you can't do this, you are going to call the customer, tell them that, and not charge them a dime. That's what's happening. I had to tell myself that. And there was a couple of jobs where I did do that. I said, look, man, there's nothing I can do about it. I would recommend going to this other guy, this other gentleman who is a little more skilled. And there's nothing wrong with referring customers out to gunsmiths that may be a little more specialized than you or a little more knowledgeable in time on a specific issue, I don't know a ton about falling blocks, right? I would go to my guys, right? I'd say, hey, man, look, either you're taking this job or you're going to come coach me on this job because I got nothing, right? Stuff like that. You need to be honest with yourself, and you need to be at least straightforward with the customer. I would say that every once in a while. Now, if you're about to wing it and You haven't told the customer that? That's fine, man. Just be prepared to tell that customer you need a new gun. Okay. Even on standard stuffs, man. There's stuff that happens all the time. That's just stupid piddly stuff. Like yesterday, I broke a front sight on a SIG, pushing it in because it was made out of pot metal, and it got stiff. And as soon as it hung up, it snapped. It just happens, man. Like, and that's not a difficult job. That's not a high skill job. Pushing sights in. That's armor level stuff. But guess what? This specific company, who I will not name, uses really low grade pot metal in their sights. So as soon as any pressure was applied to it, and it got stuck because it got a little stiff right at the end of its travel, it snapped. It happens, right? So I call the customer and say, hey, look, man, the sight you provided us broke. We got you another one on order. We're going to get it in, and we're going to put it on. Just letting you know, that's what's going to take a little longer. It happens, guys. Sometimes you got to eat the costs on small stuff, because it doesn't always go well. And you know what's kind of funny? I've been thinking about this episode for a couple weeks, and Mark Novak just put a video out, I think 2 or 3 days ago, on, it's kind of like a Q&A, and he's going over a lot of the same things that not only did he teach me, but I learned out there. Mark is a really, really good source of information. If you haven't looked up Anvil gunsmithing, you need to look it up on YouTube, guys. If you're a gunsmith and you're looking to, and you work on oddball stuff, and there's a lot of things that you've seen or haven't seen yet that you really want to see, or you have one in, and you're like, man, I wish I could find this YouTube video. Mark Novak on Anvil gunsmithing, man, he's a really good source of information. He taught me some stuff. He's a very nice guy when you get to know him. He's nice in person. Let's put it that way. I really recommend following him for the catalog of oddball stuff he works on or has worked on, because I'm pretty sure you're going to find something in there that might help you out with whatever you're doing. Duffel cuts, really oddball, or not that duffel cuts are that oddball, but nowadays you don't see many guys doing them. He's got a lot of stuff, guys, a lot of stuff. So I recommend going and check him out. I know I've been saying this since the podcast started, but I can't wait to get Mark Novak on the podcast. He will be coming up here at some point in time, and when he does, we are going to get a video together, or a podcast episode together. So let's go on to the next lesson that I learned, and that is, do not buy a bunch of tools ahead of time. Okay? And what I mean by this is, yes, there are, of course, some tools that every gunsmith's going to need. Okay? Everyone's going to need a hammer. Everyone's going to need some ball peens. Everyone's going to need chisels. Well, you should. If you're a gunsmith, you should have some chisels. Everyone's going to need a nice hollow ground screwdriver set. These are things that you can buy ahead of time. But what I mean is, don't buy a bunch of specialized tools. Excuse me. Don't buy a lot of specialized tools ahead of time until you need those. And the reason why is, I bought a lot of specialized tools once I got my lathe, because I expected to get a ton of barrel jobs in right away. And I ended up only getting about 3 right away, and the rest have been very slow, one at a time things. I've got a Steyr. I almost said Seiko. I've got a Steyr in there right now, waiting to get threaded. The problem is, if you go into that and you start buying a reamer for every caliber, or if you're someone who does the rough reamer first and then the finished reamer, that's 2 reamers for every caliber. Guys, you're out a lot of money. You're out a lot of money, and those reamers are not paying themselves off just sitting in your toolbox until someone decides, oh, I want to use one. You know, they're not paying themselves off. Let me fix this. The thing I had to think about was, how long does it take certain tools to pay themselves off? Okay, well, a lot of things, it's really quick. Screwdriver sets, chisels, those things pay themselves off quick. Okay, lathes can pay off quick if you advertise enough and do what I don't do, which is marketing, all that fun stuff. I need to get the information out there more, but that's just one of my flaws, one of my lazy flaws. But there's, man, a 2508 Ackley improved reamer is not paying itself off very quickly. Okay, And I'm not saying that one specifically. I'm just getting oddball. What's another oddball cartridge? There's like a 338. No. It's like a 6.5 by something Lapua, right? That's not paying itself off quickly. A safe bet is 30-06 or 308 if you're in the South. One of those will most likely pay itself off pretty quickly. I buy them as I need them. I'll be honest with you. I buy reamers as I need them, because if I get a rebarrel job and the customer's like, all right, I want to do this caliber, I'm like, all right, are you sure? You cool with that? Yeah, sure. Okay. Well, I have his gun. I'm yanking the barrel off, right? So if he decides he doesn't want to pay it, cool, you can have this receiver back. I'm not getting a barrel with it, you know? But I'll buy the reamer then. Now, the problem is, I will give you guys credit on this. The problem is when only one company has it in stock and they are like 8 months backed up. That sucks. And that's when you start outsourcing to other companies. But a lot of the times, if it's a common caliber, it's going to be in stock, okay? Pacific Tool and Gauge likes to make things to order. I don't like that. I don't know, man. I don't know why they do that. Man, oh man, I forgot about this. Okay. So I had a 30-06 Model 70 in the shop, and I had it in the shop for 4 months. And the reason I had it in the shop for 4 months was the first 3 months I was waiting for headspace gauges, because I wasn't buying all my tools ahead of time. I bought 30-06 headspace gauges when I got the gun in. So I had this for like 4 months, and the guy knew. He was in no rush. He was like, look, man, take your time. I just need it back by hunting season. So I ended up getting it back to him in like September or August. But a month before, I called my buddy and I said, look, man, you gotta have 30-06 headspace gauges, right? Everyone else was out of stock. It's like I couldn't buy them anywhere else. He's like, yeah, man. So he brought them up here and let me borrow them. And then I did the whole job, rebarreled it, rechambered it, threaded it, all that fun stuff. And I had forgot that I ordered my headspace gauges from Pacific Tool and Gauge, because like, oh my gosh, man, I got the job in, man, what comes right before June? Bear with my stupidity, guys. So yeah, it was May or April or May. I got this rebarrel job, and I got it back to me in September. And then I just got the headspace gauges in like October or November. They just came in. And I was like, holy crap, guys, because I had called them and they were like, oh yeah, I don't know why yours hasn't gone out yet. And this is like while I still had the gun. They're like, yours definitely should have went out by now, because they quoted like 6 to 8 weeks or 6 to 14 weeks or something like that. And we were well past that. And the guy was like, all right, man, I'm going to get the next batch packaged up and shipped out to you. And that was in like September or August that I called that guy at Pacific Tool and Gauge and told him that. And he was like, all right, we'll get them shipped out. And then nothing came of it for 3 more months or 2 more months until it ended up in my mailbox. So, but no, I think there are some specialty tools. The customer should understand that you're going to have to wait for me to get this tool in. If it's something you don't normally do, okay? And the reamers were just an example, guys, but there's all kinds of stuff, okay? There is an unbelievable amount of specialty jobs that can be done in gunsmithing, and I'm sure you're already picturing one of them in your brain right now if you're a gunsmith. You're like, oh yeah, I bought that thing thinking it was going to help me out, and never use it. Exactly, right? It's a waste of money. I bought a lot of things that wasted my money too, okay? It happens. It's okay. And just don't do it again, right? Don't waste your money where you don't have to. Once again, Mark Novak, I'm referring to him. It's just so odd that he puts this video out at the same time I was wanting to do this podcast episode. He was talking about the relationship between speed, quality, and price. You can pick 2. You can't have all 3. So it can't be super fast, super cheap, and super good quality. That's not humanly possible. So it's got to be either fast and expensive, or slow and quality. He likes to say he doesn't do fast and good quality. But yeah, typically, guys, if you want it done right, it's got to be done, with a quality mindset. And quality mindset takes your time. You're looking for every little thing. I've got a 1908 Luger in the shop right now that I need to post to Instagram. But it is interesting. It was refinished, but internally it was pretty rough, a lot of rust. So I've been taking my time with it, getting rid of as much rust as I can internally, and fixing the issues where I find them. There was 2 issues with the trigger system. Those have been corrected. Now we're just waiting for a spring to come in for the last round bolt hold open, which, slide, bolt, whatever. I don't care. It's a 1908 Luger. It's really cool. I like it. But the guy was like, man, what's going on? I was like, look, man, I'm going through this thing slowly. You're all excited about how nice this gun is and how it's a super cool piece of history, and I'm with you. But you're not going to have me just banging this thing open, replacing one part, and banging it back together. Like, we're going to be in here for a little while. We're going to make sure everything works, and then we're going to give it back to you. And, that'll be soon. But I want to shoot it, too, because, guys, the test fire everything. Just letting you guys know. Test fire everything that comes out of your shop for 2 reasons. 1, to make sure that whatever you did work. Okay, obviously. Number 2, you get something cool, you get to shoot it. Like, it's nice. It's a little, it's like a reward, right? If I'm quoting that correctly. I love shooting a lot of the guns I get in. Some guns I will not test fire though. Like if we did a purely cosmetic thing, I'm not test firing that. I'm not wasting my money, and I'm not wasting, my ammo. I don't do retail stuff, so like I really have to charge exactly what I paid for the ammo, which is kind of a pain in the butt, because they're not paying the sales tax. Well, they are, but they're paying it through what I paid, right? That way the sales tax really just gets passed along. Because if I don't have to pay sales tax, it's nice. Okay, that got a little complicated. Let me back up here. When I buy a part for a customer, I pay the sales tax and I pay the shipping or whatever it is. And then I just have the customer pay that exact same cost. So yes, the sales tax was paid and I paid it, but the customer is going to pay me exactly what I paid for it. So it really shifts the cost of that to the customer, right? I don't have a retail license, and I don't have tax exemption on all these websites I order from. I get some discounts on some of the websites we order from. If you're not calling Brownells and getting your FFL set up with them, you're wrong. You need to be doing that. Honestly, if I'm being real with you, I fought it at first, but their Edge 2-day shipping is worth it. Okay, and the only reason it's worth it is because Brownell's shipping is really freaking slow without it. And I think it's on purpose. I think they make their shipping really slow, or order processing really slow, unless you have Edge. That way you go by Edge. It's a tactic. Surround yourself with. This is another tip. Sorry, I transitioned. Didn't say anything. Surround yourself with those who know more than you. Okay. I know a lot of guys who are into guns, and it's this weird pissing contest where everyone's competing to see who knows more. This guy knows more about milsurps. This guy knows more about Glocks. This guy knows more. It doesn't matter, guys. Like, shut up. Nobody cares. Nobody cares who knows more. What matters is that you are surrounding yourself with people who know more than you, or are more specialized than you, or really good at learning. They're like someone who's really good at learning on the fly, picking things up, and teaching. Okay, and the reason I think you should care that you have people who know more than you around you is because when you mess up, the first time you mess up a customer's gun and you don't know if you can fix it, who are you going to call? No one. Because you got a bunch of people around you that are competing, or a bunch of people around you that are piddly, don't know anything. Don't surround yourself with Glock armorers, okay? Surround yourself with other gunsmiths who are really interested in learning and maintaining the trade and pushing forward and growing, right? Because if you're not growing, you're stagnant, and there's no such thing as stagnant, so you're falling. So surround yourself with other guys or girls, doesn't matter, who want to learn and want to improve, and they may know more than you in some areas, okay? You guys met Zeb. Zeb knew more than me about gun making. She does, and she probably always will. But guess what, guys? If I have a customer who wants a weird oddball stock made for his gun, guess who I'm going to call for some help? Even if she doesn't make it for us, I'm going to call her for some help. I might call Mark Novak for some help. If I need a weird oddball barrel done, I might call Fisher, right? You guys liked Fisher's episode. I might call him and say, hey, look, dude, I need to do this barrel, and I don't know what I'm doing. It's helpful to surround yourself with a group of people who are knowledge seeking and wisdom seeking, okay? We actually talked a lot about this in church the past couple weeks, but wisdom is more important than knowledge, but wisdom is in my opinion, is the application of that knowledge to reality, right? So if someone knows a ton about milsurps, does it really matter if they can't work on them? No. They're a source of information, but so is a book. So is a history book. I don't know, man. It's the best thing I could have done was meet the group of people I've met and maintain contact with them. I also have a buddy named Chip who is just a few hours away from me, or an hour and a half away from me, whatever it is. And he's a really good guy. I should have him on the podcast. He's also running his own gunsmithing shop, went to the same school I did. And him and I help each other out all the time. He'll call me and be like, yo, man, I ain't never seen this before. And maybe it's something I've seen, and I'll help him out. And then I'll call him and say, hey, man, I know you were working on these guns before. What do you think about this? It's really helpful, okay? We're not in competition with each other an hour and a half away. Dude, even if he was an hour or 45 minutes away, 30 minutes away, I wouldn't care about competing, man. I'm not trying to put other guys out of business. There's a caveat to that, but that's for another time. There is one person. But yeah, you guys got to surround yourself with others like you or better than you. It doesn't matter. Mark Novak's much better than me in 99% of gunsmithing applications. 99.99%. Doesn't matter. Cool dude. Helpful guy. It's a wealth of knowledge. I'm in, Make sure you're doing that. The next thing I'd like to tell you guys about running your own gunsmithing shop. Make sure that you are actually set up electrically and square footage wise to handle your shop even a few months into opening, because you're going to open and you're going to be pretty cozy and you're going to think, all right, this shop's got enough room for everything. I got my outlets over here, or I got my 220 there, or whatever it is. And then you're going to do a little bit of expansion because you got a few customers, realized you need a few more tools. Things get tight real quick. I'm using what's the equivalent of a 2-car garage right now, and it's still tight. That lathe takes up a lot of room, and shelves take up a lot of room, and guns take up a lot of room. It adds up. I would highly recommend in shelving units. I recommend investing in building your own shelving units, very, as tall as possible, with many rows of strong shelves, and then designing a workbench that works for you. And for me, that means storage underneath the bench, storage above the bench, and organizational storage tools all over the bench. I'm a little OCD when it comes to where my tools are, right? I like to kind of organize things in the order of most used. So the things I use the most are the closest to me, and the ones I use the least are the farthest from me. And that's just, I think a lot of people do that. I think that's not that OCD or that abnormal, but it's what I do. And so investing in things that are going to help you organize is not a waste of money to me. I'm very, it bothers me when things are out of place and when things are not where they should be in my shop. And then I go to my morning job and nothing is ever where it should be in my shop at my morning job, because everyone uses that room, the gunsmithing room in there, every day. Whenever I'm not there, they come in there and just use things. And not a single tool is where it should be, and it bothers me to no end, but it is what it is. It's a job. So I can control my house. I can control where things are in my shop, and you should be cool with that. That should make you feel a little better, because you don't have to deal with what I deal with every morning, or every Monday morning specifically is the worst. But another thing is, clean up your shop every day if you can. Whenever you are done, clean up. I know this sounds like the stupidest, most this is a children's thing, but there's something to coming into a clean shop the next morning. versus coming into a dirty shop the next morning. If you say, all right, I'll clean it tomorrow, and you come back in the next day, it's weird. I think subconsciously what happens is it starts to blend in with the shop because you left it overnight. You knew it was there. You come in the next day, you're not surprised by it, and it starts to blend in with the shop, and you're less likely to clean it the next time. If you clean it every single time, you come in and you see a clean shop, you're like, yes, all right, let's get to work. And then when it's dirty, you're like, oh man, I need to clean this up. It's been clean for weeks. I need to clean it up, And this is the issue that I have with my morning job is, I come in Monday morning, I clean. And then on Thursday when I leave, I make sure everything's put back where it needs to be. Everything's clean. I'm not saying spotless because it is a very dirty room. But that's just the nature of that particular room. It would take me a full week to actually clean that specific room. If I had no gunsmithing jobs to work on and I could just clean for a week, I would, and that's what it would take. But I come in Monday morning after the weekend. I'm doing my own gunsmithing, and I come in Monday, and it's a disaster every time, without fail, and grinds my gears. But yeah, guys, I'd really recommend cleaning your own shop every week or every day, and definitely every week. If you're not an everyday kind of person, that's fine. Every week, you got to at least do every week. I can't stand having sawdust on the ground. I can't stand having metal shavings anywhere outside of the lathe bin. There's just, especially when my dogs come downstairs, guys. My dogs come and hang out in the shop all the time, and they're not going to be walking around on metal shavings. That's not going to happen because I've got those embedded in my boots, and I know it'll embed in their paws. So I think I could have swore I had one more for you, and this is the problem with doing a more of a free flow podcast episode is because the problem is I didn't put a script together, and I had all these ideas of things I wanted to talk about, and then I forgot to talk about. So that's the punishment I get. I'm going to get a sip of water, though. Very thirsty. I just woke up like an hour ago. Not even an hour ago. 45 minutes ago. I'm trying this thing out, guys. I don't have much time in the evening to do this, so I was like, I've got an hour before work in the morning. I can try to sit down and get this recorded, and then I can edit it and upload it in the afternoon or evening. And I think this is going to work. This might be the new way I do this. I should have scripts next time, but I think I might be doing morning recordings now. 5 a.m. recordings. Don't pay attention to that clock up there. That clock is wrong and busted, and it's just a drum head. My wife decided to put one of those together. If you're on YouTube, if you're not on YouTube, you have no idea what I'm talking about. But there's a snare drum behind me that's a clock, and it says like 7 something, but it's 5:30. So, I'm okay with it being a short episode if I can't remember what I was going to talk about. It's kind of embarrassing. I went over a lot of important information, guys. You really should learn to. Oh, that's what I was going to say. Man, yay! I figured it out. Okay. So we talked about, choosing your customers or choosing the jobs you take. You have the right to do that, okay? If you don't want to take a job, you don't. But here's another thing. Learn to have confidence in your work and your prices. When I say your prices, I mean something very specific. So I have fallen prey because I'm a nice person. I try my best to be a nice person. And when someone is genuinely unable to pay for a job, I used to drop it a little bit. I'm just like, all right, just give me this much, And that doesn't actually help me. It may help them, and it may be awesome for them. They may go tell someone, and I may get a little bit of word of mouth out of that, maybe. But the big thing that's going to happen with that word of mouth is he dropped the price for me when I was broke. So that's the information that's spreading is he dropped the price. Or, he did this for super cheap. Now everyone's going to expect it super cheap. Within 3 months of running the business, I had to double my prices. Literally double. Because I wasn't making any money. I just wasn't. The big issue I was having was, so an example is, I do pick up and drop off with with other gun shops, right? I don't have my own, storefront location, so that I pick up and drop off. And I was giving them 20% of what I was charging. Well, the problem is, that's stupid. That's stupid. So now that's I'm just giving away 20% of my money basically. Now what happens is the shop pays me what I charge, and then they charge the customer whatever it is they want to tack it on top. I recommend a small 20% fee on top, but 20% of a $600 something job is a lot of money. So maybe, some shops like a flat rate better, $30 all the time, no matter what. Okay, I get that. It's like a transfer fee, But I wasn't making any money because I didn't think it through. I was like, all right, let's say the job is $100. I would really only get 80 because $20 went to the shop and I lost 20%. Now, the problem with this is it sounds kind of greedy, like, oh, you can't lose 20%. Well, no, not when I'm taxed on that. And then I also am the one driving to and from the pickup and drop off locations. So when it comes to fuel usage and the tax, I think I was actually, if I broke it down to like a $50 thing, I only actually pocketed like $24 of every $50 I charged. So, no bueno, right? So I doubled the price. Everyone got really upset. I told them, that's too bad. Even with the prices doubled, there is not a cheaper gunsmith around. Okay. There are cheaper armorers around, and if you want to go to them to get your sights pushed in, I don't care. Go ahead. But there is not a cheaper gunsmith around, and I'm not that cheap. But you should be okay with the fact that you're going to have to tell someone, sorry, the price is the price, and that's it. And that's something that I'm still getting used to. I just had a phone call yesterday of somebody wanting me to do something for them in a day. Come get the gun from them, do the job, and bring it back in a day. And I was on the phone and I was like, dude, that's not going to happen. My lead time is like 2 weeks out. And he's like, wow, well, that's insane. I didn't know you were 2 weeks out. I just really, he started to do this roundabout guilt tripping thing they do, man. They always do this crap. I almost fell for it again. My brain was like, all right, man, what can you do? Can you go up there and do the job at the shop? Can you drive up there, do it there since it's a small job, and then just drive back? And I was like, no, I ain't doing that. No, stop. I can't do it for you. You can drop it off and it'll be done within 2 weeks or maybe a little over. And that's it, man. Sorry. And he got upset and he hung up. But, dude, for your own mental health, stop bending over backwards for everyone but yourself. It is backwards thinking for me because I was raised to not be selfish. But the problem is, if I don't get a little bit selfish with this money, my family doesn't eat food. So, it is what it is, right? It's taking me some learning. It's taking me some getting used to. I wish it had been beaten into my head earlier. And for those of you who have ever worked retail, you might, I've worked a lot of retail and I hate retail. And I still was having trouble being mean or being, you call it, not mean, very firm. Let's just say firm, right? Because I want to help people. I do. I genuinely like helping people. I want people to smile and be happy with what they got. But at some point, you got to put your foot down and say, no, man, the price is the price. If you're not going to pay it, leave. If you don't care or if you don't want to pay it, leave. And one of the remedies for this price thing is the idea of a mechanic's lien, but for gunsmithing items, a gunsmith lien. If you have a lawyer who could write one of those up for you, it'd be a good idea. Because here's one of the big issues I got. So that shotgun that still hasn't been picked up. $400 something was the bill. I have $200 something in it. The problem is I couldn't even sell that gun for what I got in parts. No one in the world would buy it for $270. So it's a total loss, and I didn't have him sign one of those lien things. So if he ever did come back a year later and says I want my gun, I can't tell him I sold it. I don't have the paperwork to say that legally, man, hey, you took too long, we sold it, right? So it's going to sit in a shop until that shop closes down probably, and that's okay. I learned my lesson, right? It was a $275 lesson. Know the red flags, right? Look for the right customers, look for the right jobs. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying ignore all the small jobs or the stupid jobs. Those jobs pay bills, right? The small cleanings that you do all the time, they pay bills, okay? But when it comes to the big jobs, you need to know, is this going to be worth my time? Is this going to be worth Dealing with this customer for maybe 6 months on end. You got to be smart, okay? One thing I forgot to mention, guys, real quick. This is future Josh editing myself in. I forgot to mention that the biggest thing that helped me out when it comes to being able to work on as many guns as humanly possible is learning the cycle of operations, which is not just knowing, does ejection or extraction come first? It's not just knowing the cycle of loading, firing, extracting, ejecting, all that stuff, rinse and repeat. It's the micro level of the cycle of operations, down to every single little moving part of general types of firearms. So in school, we had to write up papers on the cycle of operation of each type of firearm, whether, so we had to do one for revolvers, single action, double action, not just single action revolvers. We had to do one on pump shotguns, semi-auto shotguns, semi-auto rifles, bolt-action rifles, semi-auto pistols, all that stuff. And just to give you a general idea, for the Smith & Wesson single-action, double-action revolver that we had to do, there was between 160 and 180 steps between pulling the trigger the first time and then pulling the trigger the second time. So every single little step involved in how that system works, if you get an idea for that, and you don't have to have it memorized, I just mean getting a general idea for how these firearms really work to their core will really help you be able to troubleshoot and diagnose problems that arise in firearms that you haven't even worked on before. Because a lot of the times, an issue can only come from one area. It's hard to explain quickly, but once you learn how everything works generally, then you know that, let's just say, the ejection, an issue with ejection most likely isn't caused by the firing pin, right? Now, obviously, there are exceptions to every rule. You're going to see things that confuse you and they don't make sense. You're going to see issues arise from something where it shouldn't. I don't know how to give you an example because nothing's fresh in my mind at the moment. But you're rarely going to see stuff that doesn't fit in the norm, but those rare exceptions do happen. You are going to see issues come out of places that they never should have. They don't make sense. A lot of the times you'll see a gun having all kinds of issues. You'll take it apart, inspect it, not see anything wrong, reassemble it, and all of a sudden the problem's fixed. It doesn't make sense. Sometimes that's just the way things are, right? But for your general 90% of jobs that you're going to do, really getting in, diving into the cycle of operations on how all these different firearms work will really help you in your troubleshooting and your diagnosing in the future. This was the most important thing for me for learning how to work on different types of firearms. By far, the most helpful for me. I don't know why I forgot to throw it in the episode, but here it is. You guys take care. But that is actually all I had. That was kind of cool. I really hope you guys got something out of it. If you have any more questions, remember, I have an email, tbrgunworks@gmail.com. You can follow us on social media at Instagram at tbrgunworks. I think there's an underscore there, tbr_gunworks, which is stupid. Or you can go to the website, tbrgunworks.com. If you're on the podcast sites, guys, those of you who have left reviews, I really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much. It meant a lot to me. If you haven't and you're looking for a place to go do it, I think the only one that I've seen so far is Apple Podcast. So thank you. We would really appreciate more reviews if you can put them out there. It helps push the podcast to more people. Would really appreciate that. And those of you who sent emails, like I said, thank you so much for your feedback in those emails. And if you're someone who's thinking negatively about the podcast, don't be afraid to shoot me an email either. You can shoot me an email and tell me what I could be doing better, because we could all be doing something better. And I don't have a problem learning. So thank you guys so much for listening or watching. I really appreciate it. I'm really hoping to get another Gunsmiths of America out relatively soon. I can't say who the guest might be yet, but I really want to do more Gunsmiths of America. A lot of you guys like those episodes, so I'm going to try to get more of those out. But again, thank you guys so much for listening and or watching. Remember, every gun law is an infringement, and I'll see y'all next time. Take care.